Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join us on a journey where we unravel the intricacies of workplace dynamics. Hello, everybody. It's Ken Stearns, your host. Welcome back to the Humanist. It's been a little bit since we've had a live show, and really excited today because it's kind of a long time since I've been on, and I get to do this one from Asia, here in Ho Chi Minh City on some work, and really getting around exploring the city today, and getting a really good reminder. You get close to humanity in cities like this where there's just motorcycles buzzing left and right. I don't know, the city's probably got 20 something million people packed into it, and just it's a beehive of activity. And I was getting my hair cut a little while ago, and the gentleman who's cuts my hair, we haven't talked in a while. He's Singaporean. And if you can imagine, it's kind of like Orange County, California, or a suburbia. And what you end up with is it's just very kind of relaxed environment there, and very sterile, very beautiful, but it doesn't have the buzz and the life of a big city like you do have here. And boy, I'm close to a lot of good humans here, and really excited to have Rachel Lee, our next guest, on. And where can you find anybody that calls herself a lady boss, is a lady boss, standout authority, very interesting marketing and branding, can I say branding company? It's probably hopefully a right way of saying it. And have a chance to look at your page as we were talking, Rachel, and amazed at the content you've got on your LinkedIn page. Great stuff. I always like resources, and especially free resources. So I know if anybody engages you, it's going to be, if that's the stuff you're giving away for free, I can imagine being a paying client. It must be really magic stuff. So Rachel, welcome to the Humanist. Thanks for being a guest.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Ken. And hello, everybody.
Yeah, hello, everybody. We'll see what happens on the audience side. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. Tell us about Standout Authority, and who are you, and who are your clients, and who you're helping.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I am now the co-owner and CMO of Standout Authority. And my background actually wasn't a business owner, entrepreneur. So I decided to leave corporate. It was celebrated my 3+ years with Josh. So Josh and I are husband and wife. And we came together about 3 years ago, although I was helping him on the background while I was working for Microsoft, Gartner, so big enterprise tech companies working at scale branding, marketing, integrated marketing at every level, from social media to blogging to customer evidence, everything for the Microsoft Partner Network. At Gartner, I own the branding and marketing strategy for a brand called Software Advice. And before that, I got my MBA at the University of Texas, Macomb School of Business, and I did my
throw it in there.
Yeah, because I live in Austin. I'm still very close with UT in a bunch of different ways as a guest lecturer and doing some consulting. So I say all that. And then I also worked for a marketing agency called Walton Isaacson out of my undergrad, where I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I say all that because just to first of all, I love when people have any association with any of those companies or schools. It's always really fun because when we're talking about the Humanist, how do we really connect with other humans? It's these shared experiences that lay the foundation for our connection with other people, whether it's online or whether it's in the workplace or a client. And so this journey, throughout it, I've always had a passion. I call myself a branding lady boss because for me, marketing and branding is really about understanding people and then figuring out how your product or service is going to meet the need of those people and delivering value. That's what the best companies in the world are doing, and they're really customer obsessed, right? And they're thinking about that. And so that's always been what's made me excited, the creative side, the left brain and right brain. And so with Standout Authority, when I've had this itch to go out on my own, it's not a new feeling that I had. I did a lot of
Yeah.
exploration during the MBA. It came from a place of during COVID times and the great reevaluation, re everything, right?
Yes.
I realized that I wanted to be working closer to the people, working with individuals like yourself, Ken, and
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of saying, hey, Ken, with the Humanist or your company, to say, no, Ken, his personal brand, who is he? How can you share your voice in a way that feels really authentic, that
Hmm.
delivers value, but is on brand and can actually get
And
you
on brand.
visibility and results? And so that's what Standout Authority is all about today. We're on a mission to humanize the way businesses go to market. And so what we do is work with the people behind the business.
Yes. Now the name makes a lot of sense to me now. When looking at it before, now I really get that stand out and then with that authority and oh, okay, now it makes a lot of sense. Now it
Great.
makes a lot of sense. When looking through your LinkedIn profile, and then you just described it, you were here, you were there, you were on the West Coast, Madison is a whole different culture and it's a mad city, Wisconsin, beer capital of the United States, more beer per person in Wisconsin than any other state. Fun fact, because I'm an Illinoisan, so we find any fun fact we can.
Midwesterner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good Midwesterner, and in our own intercompetitiveness, we want to find facts we can about Wisconsin and make fun of Wisconsin people because because we're from Illinois. But
How dare you, the
Matt's
Scotties? How dare
yeah, the
you?
Scott cheeseheads, right? So even we really
Those
go
are my
low.
people.
I
Those are
know,
my people.
and you're down in Texas, and those are your people. So you really, I would imagine you're able to blend a lot of localized cultures into your work with your clients. Humanize it, really.
Listen, that's the most powerful thing. Any individual, I don't care what kind of business you're in, and this is what we need in AI, in the
Yeah.
way we build products, is people that have an understanding of different people, right?
Yes.
We need diverse thought, diverse looks. We need all of that at the table with the pace of change that we're experiencing. And so for
Mm.
me, that has been I have tried my best and continue to try to live in different places in the United States.
Yeah.
I know that you're in Ho Chi Minh City. I've traveled there during my MBA, and gosh, now I have almost 10-month-old, so traveling super far is a little bit more difficult. But to be a great business leader and to be a great marketer, most certainly,
Yeah.
you have to have an expanded view of the world and what really makes people tick. And that is far beyond the color of their skin, their age, the kind of typical psychographics. Now
Yeah.
it's about the behaviors, the needs and wants and driving forces that make them tick, right? What makes them purchase.
Yeah.
So, I think that's really important for any person that's trying to do business today.
I had a coffee introduction talk with a gentleman today named Rakesh, and he's the CEO for uh, East Post or ISPOS. It's a research firm, like a
Okay.
Gartner, and
Okay.
butchering the name, the corporate name. But our conversation was interesting because we did talk about customer experience and distributor experience. And he wants me to come in and just share some experiences, life experiences. And he was saying he wanted to use that and to connect it to the work
Mm,
and to bring some humanity, right? So his researchers can meet somebody face to face and have an open dialogue and kind of get that connection so they can better
yes.
understand the client. And he says, usually the client's on the other side of the table and it's not always as forthcoming. It's a little bit harder to get the detail, a little bit the nuances and to get into understanding the real depth. And so it's so funny, I'm having this conversation in a, very similar way. So it must be true.
Yeah, well, you should have them, we should talk to them, right? We should have a
Yeah.
conversation with them because what I think that ultimate conversation is around is personal branding. So
Yes.
what I talk a lot about and what I do a lot of guest speaking and a lot of content around is building your personal brand. And building your personal brand is really a journey for you to understand how others see you. So what are the perceptions you want people to have of you? And then most importantly, but usually never thought about in the workplace, is how you see yourself.
Ooh.
So when you do the work to build your personal brand and you understand, who am I? How do I want to see? How do I want to be perceived? How do I
Perceived,
want
right.
others to see me? But most importantly, what feels really authentic and intrinsic, when you understand that, and then take the time to then bridge that story with those of your companies and your customers, that's the magic.
That is and that's hard. I mean, it seems hard, but that seems like magic.
Well, it that's what we try to do, right?
And that's why,
That's
that's why you guys are there, right?
that's
To help
why,
do that.
yeah, exactly, because it's so needed. We're we're in a time of whatever you want to call it, burnout and quiet quitting, remote workforce, hybrid workforce. Some people love it, some people hate it, people working all over the world, right? My team is in 5 different countries, which is just astounding. We're a small team. It's just, I'm hiring great people in different places, right? People that I'm getting connected to, people that connect with me and our mission and our vision. And that's what matters more than anything. Now, what's happening in particular with the middle management, right? Because you have the high level and the entry level, all levels. The executive level is not understanding the real essence and living and breathing the essence of the company and their customers. So there's an opportunity for them to be subject matter experts and thought leaders for the company, but also for who they are, because most of those people are very established, right? They've been in the industry, they have a ton of expertise, and they also might have a lot of interests outside of work that can really draw relatability. So they need to lead from the top. And then we need to really empower and enable our middle managers and the new force coming in to understand, why are we here and what your specific role is in this company to make us thrive. And most individuals they have a job, right? They have a job. But the data, if you look at all the workforce reports from Microsoft, Deloitte, all of the money is not enough. You could pay me all you want, but they want to feel connected to their companies.
This is, especially now, I think post-COVID, this is a real thing.
It's a real thing, but it's extra difficult because we're living in a time of remote workforce, burnout, always on, social media, right? So what we try to do is bridge that big gap, right? Because the common denominator between all of it is what? The fact that we are humans.
Humans, yeah.
We're humans.
I always struggled with being the working for the company. So a lot of what you said really was, kind of hitting me a little bit right in the chest. As a corporate executive, I always felt that the company brand was the brand, and I was just a guy that had a job there and a business card. And I would be I would not even want my bosses to see me representing my own brand in a way. I would be very shy or very hesitant to step out into the light as my own brand, even though, no, now I'm doing it, and that's what it took. And I blossomed when I represented myself. Everything changed. And I think now I'd be a way better asset for a corporation than I was as the person hiding behind the other brand and hiding my talents. This must be something like I could see you going into a corporate boardroom and just really flipping things on its head with these ideas.
That's our intention. That's our hope, Ken. Maybe
Yeah.
you can help facilitate,
Yeah.
getting into more and more organizations, right? This is why Josh and I all the time we're on LinkedIn and we're talking about,
Yeah.
there's no B2B, there's no B2C, there's only H to H, human to human connection. And we have a different
That's
approach.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's okay. Hold on. H to H.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
great term.
Yeah. And it's because of what you're talking about right here, Ken, and it's doesn't, and going back to that personal brand, right?
Yeah.
Because who are you? What feels authentic to you? And I know that word authenticity is really overused, but
But
the truth is being
it's
authentic
true.
is living. There's a feeling, and I know this feeling because I've experienced it. I worked at the best companies in the world. I've been at the best
Yeah. Yeah.
public institutions for education in the world. I've worked with the biggest brands, okay? On paper, Rachel's rock star, all my evaluations, my managers, I have so many amazing, especially female managers that supported me and wanted to take me to the next level inside of the corporations. And I saw that path, but there was this feeling and knowing in my tummy that felt like I'm not being truly me.
Yeah.
It felt like I couldn't share my voice in all the ways I wanted to. Because the truth of the
Yes.
matter is there's an absolute level, there's no sharing, nothing, which is a no-go, right? We don't want to be on that end of the spectrum when we work for another organization. But we also need to be careful where you're on the other end of the spectrum, where you're maybe sharing too much and it's outside the guidelines and parameters of that company.
Yes.
So what I'm aiming for in my work and on my mission now is, let's get people to feel more authentically themselves, to have work aligned to their principles and what they're trying to create, and allow them to share in a way that feels enlightening for the company and empowering for the company and themselves. And it's not black, white, left, right, like, not to refer to politics, but it isn't. Nothing is. We live in gray. That's just it. And so, and that's why I can't stand the like politicizing and everything, because it's just not like that in life. Like, life is not like that. So
It's so
that's
true.
what
What you
I'm
described
looking
this.
for.
Yeah. I love that as a way you're kind of articulating that, because I did feel like it was on it or off, and I didn't feel I could find a place to be myself and to be authentic. And I think that's probably I could have been, and I would have had a lot more joy at work. I could have stayed at corporate with that kind of philosophy if I could have found and been confident enough to be myself. But I always
Yeah.
felt like anything you said would supposed to be on corporate brand. When you get on LinkedIn, it's not Ken Stearns, it's this employee named Ken Stearns working
Yeah.
for this company. And I think you are, when you're saying it strikes me, like I said, right in the chest. It's so true that it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like it could be that way for people. And you could have imagine your executive team, if they all have that 30-40% of their own expertise coming out, then you would see the team and the whole company differently. Much more
Yes.
powerful, much more rounded, more resilient.
Yes. And so this is why we work with organizations to develop that thought leadership strategy
Yes.
in coordination with the marketing and communication team and the sales team, right? The growth side of it. Because what happens when the executives, or it doesn't have to only be executives, right? Just that upper management, it could be the VP, the people that are leading the company, right?
Yes.
When to that point, let's say you went from 0% to 40%, of just sharing your expertise, putting content out there,
Yes.
sharing what it's like at home for you, what you're excited about with guardrails. I think it's so important that I say that. I am a big believer in guardrails and guidelines. Okay. It's one thing when you own your own company. I own my own company. I will curse. I will do what I feel, but it's my company. And quite frankly, if a client doesn't like that, then they're not meant to be my client, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's different when you have Wall Street potentially, you have investors, it's different. That's just it, right? So what the ideal situation is, Ken, is that these executives like yourself are able, they're empowered to be themselves, even if it's at 40% more than where they were. So not just be Ken with X company, but Ken, right?
Yeah.
What you're doing is raising the brand awareness. You're increasing opportunities for brand reputation, which is a big topic right now. Reputation management, especially in the time of so much crisis communication, right? So you are thinking about, this is not just doing it to make your people feel good. This is an actual marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about brand awareness. It is the strategy. It's brand reputation. It's brand awareness. It is developing content and data around strategic wins and differentiation for your company through the voices. So you're able to really differentiate your company in that way, right? So it's a competitive differentiation because people want to hear from other people. And then what you're doing as the big voices are leading at the front, you're encouraging the rest of your team to do it as well.
Yes. Absolutely. Because I'm thinking of the companies I was thinking of. Nobody steps out of line.
Correct. So it's impossible for me to go, let's say, into a company of 1,000 people and go talk to the entry level and the middle managers and be like, go be you, have an online voice, build your personal brand, get out there on LinkedIn. And then you have upper management that's like, don't say anything, social media, nothing.
Yes.
That's a big disconnect. So, there needs to be an openness and a real understanding that this is about driving marketing goals.
Yeah, what you said earlier, Rachel, really struck with me. I want to come back to it. In the beginning, you were talking about just the integration and just like the horizontal part of marketing, and how it's not just a TV advertisement or a brand placement. And so as you were kind of covering this stuff about the executive stepping up, you're creating like this mushroom cloud of content and authority and branding. So it is really, if it's part of the plan, if it's part of the marketing plan, I can see this being very powerful for companies.
It is. And there's a ton of data around that. There was a recent research report with Edelman and LinkedIn through the B2B Institute. And when you're executives, when you're doing thought leadership content, there's evidence that shows that it will actually increase customer acquisition. Your competitors,
it's validation, right? It's validation.
Yes. And because your competitors might be doing it, if you're not doing it, that content, that information has so much influence. Because
it's trust, right? You can almost trust it more than the brand.
And there's people, like, back to what we're here to talk about. It's about the people. Right. And at the end of the day, this is about relationships. Like when you think about more consumer buying behaviors where you get served an ad and maybe you don't have to talk to any individual, right? So more consumer product goods, there doesn't necessarily have to be a human real interaction in that decision. More business to business, there usually is a team making those bigger decisions, right? If you're thinking about, hey, we need a new HR tool, a new HR platform. Like if you think about the whole SaaS world, everything, it's very rare that you're not going to talk to another human in that process, the sales process, the marketing process.
Absolutely.
And then if you aren't, most certainly people are expecting to watch YouTube or see something on LinkedIn or wherever, go on your website, and they want to see those videos of customers, right?
Yeah.
Customers using it, or they want to see an about page of your people, because people want to see the people and everything in action with the product or service. So my stance is like, we have to humanize the way we go to market, period. There's a lot of different ways in which we can do that. What I'm most passionate, most excited about with Standout Authority is looking at those individuals behind the business and having them be your marketing, right? Let them drive that marketing message. In addition, when you think about your whole marketing strategy, there has to be a human element to it. Are you watching the Paris Olympics at all?
Yeah, a little bit catching like the clips, catching the summary stuff.
Well, I love it. I love watching it. I like get chills every time. I like cry when the parents are like so excited for their kid.
That's the worst.
No, it's the best. It's the best.
I mean, like, it's the best of the worst, right? It's when you see that, you're like,
both sides, when they're so excited and then so disappointed, right? But it's just, there's this human element of the Olympics, right? You feel the energy that these individuals, they've taken 4, 8 years, their whole life to get to this moment. And so you look at the ads, many of the ads that are playing everything is bringing real people behind the product or service. There's nothing that's like some comical interpretation. If you look at the Microsoft Copilot, they're really pushing hard on Copilot right now.
Yeah.
The new ad campaign that they're doing, there's a big push with the Paris Olympics. It's showing real people in their work environment at home asking the Copilot, hey, can you take this 150 page notes and make it into a slide deck? So I say all that because this is an all-up strategy for branding and marketing. Whatever size your organization, you have to think about, how do you humanize it? How do you bring real people, real voices? And there's a lot of different things to think about, right, when we're talking about going to market. And it's just absolutely critical because that's what people want right now.
The conversation with Rakesh, we were talking coffee talk, my new best friend. And I'm an insurance person. I was an insurance agent. And some of his clients are some of the insurance companies here. And we were talking about, branding and agency and bank assurance, selling through the bank. And eventually I said, well, I look at it as all, at the end of the day, whether it's bank or you're buying, it's still a human. It's still face-to-face sales. And saying, it's interesting because like the branding is there just to make the customer kind of recognize, oh, it's a real company, et cetera. He goes, but you're buying from that person across the table. You're not buying online. 25 years ago when the internet was kind of blossoming and everybody was saying, oh, this will kill insurance agency distribution. Everybody's just going to buy online. And it's taken just such a small portion of insurance. Now, car insurance and this kind of commodity stuff, yes, it's very convenient. But for real insurance products, for human stuff, it's still bought face to face. And it's bought because I trust you. I know you. The branding is there to say you work for a legitimate big company. So it's kind of interesting. It's real. What you're saying, I'm having this flashback of this conversation earlier. We buy from humans that we know, humans that we trust, and the brand is somewhere there in the picture to kind of give some support.
It's a great reflection, and it's a great example. Like, insurance is a really interesting industry. The financial sector, anything with financial advisors, where so much of it is individual. Lawyers, these are some of the same industries that potentially face a lot of disruption through AI.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that to the side ish. I'll leave it to the side ish, because here's what I want to add to what you're talking about. So yes, a lot of this stuff, people at the end of the day want to talk to somebody For instance, we're a small business. Getting health insurance is a joke in the US. It's awful. And I was shocking. And I was, so used to getting my big insurance for Microsoft, Gartner. So, when I took the leap out of, stand out authority, I mean, the amount of hours just talking, looking at pages and pages of stuff. But I needed a human. Like that's out of my scope of.
You need a human.
And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't have time. I don't want to know this. I need somebody that I trust. So I actually asked other females. I actually found somebody through my other small business owner friends that are entrepreneurs. Hey, who do you talk to help you? We found, so word of mouth. Think about that, right? That's word of mouth. But I also connected quite a bit with a couple people on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And that helped me validate who they are.
Yes.
So whether you realize it or not, people are going to check you out.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're living in a world where I do face-to-face sales and I'm just going to call people up and that's how I'm going to run my business, you're out of your mind in 2024, because that is not what that's not what your customer is doing.
Yes.
And most of those customers, sure, there's the boomers, which are a huge different segment, but the growing segment is millennials, right? Yes. We're millennials, and then you have your Gen Xers. And forget even Gen Z, let's just put them in their own bucket. But for these tried and true, right. But, and I say all that because people are making impressions. It takes less than a second for somebody to make an impression of you. And it takes at least 7, upwards of 11 to even 20 times for somebody to remember your brand. So before you actually might make a close on anything, and I'm talking from a digital product to a 5, 6, 7-figure deal, right? So all of the things that you're doing, whether you realize it or not, matter.
Absolutely.
So Ken, we became connected, and you're subtly seeing my posts on your feed every day. You're just breezing through them. You don't you don't even realize that you're seeing Rachel Beeley. It's not processing. You're like, oh, Rachel, whatever. You don't like it. Maybe sometimes you do, but it's in there. Yeah. It's in there. It's happening. It's happening. And so we need to realize that as professionals, that this notion that I'm going to be just doing word of mouth and getting on calls with people to drive our business or careers is just not going to work. We have to be building our online presence. Even if you're in a job today that feels like I don't need that, I don't think it's going to be the case in a couple years. So why are you holding off? And no matter what, people are going to research you. They're going to go on a Google and they're going to say, who's Ken Stearns? They're going to look at your website, right?
Absolutely.
Even if you're a professional and you work for another company, right? And I'm looking, hey, I want to hire Ken from X company. They're going to look you up, those hiring managers. The job seekers are going to look up the hiring managers and the exec team. Like, this is just the world we live in.
You mean my CV, my nice resume, black and white, flat piece of paper won't cut it anymore?
I mean, the resume is literally like baseline. I love that when people are like, I'm sending out my resumes and they're blasting everybody on LinkedIn, or they're blasting all the Indeed jobs. And I'm not hearing anything. I'm like, you submitted a resume. Did you even do a cover letter? Like, no. Did you go look up the company? Did you go see who's the hiring manager on LinkedIn? Are you seeing who works there? Are you networking? No. Well, no. That's table stakes. That is table stakes today to get a job, period.
One of the projects I'm working on here is speaking to some of the sales leadership teams. And these are agency leaders, and they have small teams underneath them. And a lot of these folks are top salespeople as well. They're not just great leaders and recruiters, but they're also the best of the best in the industry. So they're here in Ho Chi Minh City a couple of weeks ago after my session. We had a nice dinner, and I got to meet some of especially the women. So this is quite interesting. And I sat at the table of MDRTs, Million Dollar Round Table, and this is the international professional, the highest, really professionally, ethically, morally, like sales wise, education wise. It's what you want to be if you're in the insurance business. And over the years in Asia, it's taken a long time for that to gain any kind of momentum. It seemed like it was somebody else's, idea, and it was far away. But that dinner at the table, I was so surprised how far along they've come in such a short period of time. They were showing me their Facebook pages, super professional, their posts, their pictures, very, these are not Instagram famous kind of people. These are very strategically placed pictures with long articles about what they're doing in life, who they're helping, what their values are, what the photo represents to them. And then now I'm following them on LinkedIn. My gosh, Vietnamese agents in Ho Chi Minh City have a pro bad booty LinkedIn profile, and they're posting great content. So yeah, if you're in the US and you've got a corporate job and you are far behind the curve. People,
Yeah.
insurance agents are taking their brand serious. And so their clients go look at them. And they said, actually, Ken, now I hardly prospect. People drop into my DMs and they
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
know. They ask me questions in my DM because I'm becoming, an authority, and they
Subject
follow
matter
me,
expert. Yeah.
and they see me, and they're like, so either it's two things. One is they have questions on insurance, and
Yeah.
I'm a subject matter expert, or they decide based on my kind of lifestyle videos and my lifestyle talks. So I have lifestyle posts. They want what I have. They want to join my team. And so saying our recruiting has changed. We spend more time doing this personal branding than we do anything else right now. And it's so like
That's
it's
amazing.
amazing. It's blowing my mind. And this has all happened in the last 10 days. I'd never seen an insurance agent with a LinkedIn profile. And here they are. And they're not just having a profile, they have a great profile with a real strategy of who they are and how they're branding themselves.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, thank you for sharing. That's enlightening for me. And I love hearing that,
Lady bosses.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And when your income and career is even more reliant on how you're putting yourself
Mm,
out there,
yeah,
you're going to do it even more,
yeah,
right? So for people, let's say you're, computer science and engineers and things where, you're in the data scientists, all you could think about a bunch of jobs where um, being online doesn't seem like it matters for their success, right? And my thought is on that it does matter,
I
right?
I do.
Because
It matters.
when you decide to go do your own business, or you
Yes,
decide, right, to you need another job, which inevitably is going to happen. It's
yeah,
inevitable. What are you going to fall on? You're going to be like, oh shit, I need to get my
yeah,
stuff together, which
I
is what
yeah,
people will come to me and they'll be like, I need a job now. I just got fired or whatever. I'm like, so what, have you been working on your LinkedIn? Have you had, no, no, no. I'm like, well, get to it. Get to it. Like, there's no time but today. If there's any takeaway from our long conversation here,
yeah.
there's a huge power in each of us expressing our brand, our personal brand voice. There's a huge amount of value for our personal success, but also the companies that we work for and the clients we enable. So that's just everything.
The 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 gentleman I met this morning or this afternoon, Rakesh, he said, he never I'm pretty sure I've never seen a comment from him on my posts. Probably, I'm not even sure. I don't check likes to see who's liking stuff, but I interact with posts, so usually I know that, I can see some familiar faces. Never commented, and I look back, and we'd been connected for 3 years. We've, like, exchanged birthday things
Yeah,
3 years
messages.
ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago, and the
Mhm.
chat's dead after that. And he reached out, and the comment he said today was, "I just really admire your posts, and, I really, when I stop and I wanna kinda see what you're talking about." And, you just kinda get reminded, like, whoa, there's the silent majority is so huge. Here's somebody who's really pausing on it and reading it, but, you know, like me also, I don't really bother to like every post, but I consume a lot, but I don't
Back
stop
to
and
what
comment.
back to what we were just saying.
So
And
it's
then
like,
what's amazing is that person 3 years ago is now like, "We actually are looking for a speaker and we need you to
that's
come here," right?
that's
And you're
way
like,
faster now.
"Oh, so that connection, what I did 3 years ago is paying off now."
Yeah.
I have so many
You
stories of this. My
yeah.
getting my job at Gartner. I had when I was at Microsoft, I connected with people at Gartner because, Microsoft does a bunch of
Yeah.
work with Gartner. We were in a lot of meetings, made some connections, personalized invite, all of that. Fast forward 2019, I'm looking for a job. I look in my network. Who do I know at Gartner? I saw this brand manager role that I was super excited about. See, she's there. I do this in some of my presentations actually. You'll see the note from
Oh,
2017,
that's so cool.
the message, and then I send another note 2019 and be like, "Hey, so and so, how are you doing? Great to be connected. Been following you, right? Relationship. I'm interested in this role. Would you be open to talking to me about it?" Da 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 da. Already warm intro. Already we've removed those
Yes.
barriers because now we've been connected for a couple years. We've been watching each other, and she put in that referral for me, and referrals are golds. They're
Wow.
gold in that world. And then I knew a couple other people in my network. I knew people here, and I kept working it in that way. And I landed that job at Gartner, and it was only because of the people I knew and connections
Yes.
that I had made and the relationship. So that's just one story. I mean, I have somebody yesterday, the day before that, was said they read my newsletter and we're reading
Ah,
about my journey of being a stepmom and some of the challenges. And she read, I read your newsletter and I just became a stepmom. And this has been
oh,
challenging. And, and you're just like, you write this content, you put your heart and soul, at least we do, and you
yes.
don't know who it's going to touch or when or
Yeah.
how.
Yeah.
And it does. And it does. And that, I think, as we kind of close out this conversation, that's that's the overlying piece that I want
Mm.
us to end on with the humanist is, yes, it's this marketing strategy. Yes, it can drive brand reputation and tons of marketing goals. It can drive performance and sales and like all of those things. But the reason why we do this is for human connection,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
there are people like you out there. There are people going through your struggle. There are people that
Yeah.
are feeling your successes and they're yearning for you. And
So true.
even if it's one person a day, that's always been my motto. And Josh is like, is there one person I can touch today? I might not know about them being touched today. They might not tell me, but if I can do that, then I feel like I'm living in my purpose. I feel like I'm serving in a way. And let me tell you, that is needed when life is hard. Life, we're going through a lot of challenges as a family. The
Mm.
macro context of what's going on in our world, right? All of these things.
Yes.
And, Ken, I'm choosing to add value, to be vulnerable, to share so that someone else can feel not alone. So somebody else can go through the journey and know that, you know what, we're in it together. And if we can just stick together in a loving, peaceful way, really, there's so much opportunity for all of us.
I was Rachel, thanks for that. That's just beautiful and touching. I did the JAR podcast. I traveled to 96 cities. I interviewed 330 people in their home, and I found out we have so much in common and so little really not, the really important stuff, heavy weighted towards that. We've got so much in common. And you can forget
Too.
about the buildings I walked into, the skin color of people, the orientations of people, the age. I could strip all that away and been blind in there, and the human part was so powerful. The universe is pretty crazy because I just had back to the Rakesh conversation, and I was telling you, as we were talking, I was sharing with him, he wants to bring me in, and he started a leadership series, and he said, "I want to bring you in so you can, if you," he said, "I'm doing this leadership series not to educate. I don't want you to come in and give a class. I just want you to be a human and share." And the hopes is that one person gets inspired by the story,
Yeah.
even though there'll be 150 people in the room. And I told him, you got to come. I'm going to find the Charlie Rose and Mr. Rogers interview where Charlie Rose asks him, "You've touched millions, like millions of kids have grown up with you, literally sitting there while mom is cooking and dad's out running around doing work, or vice versa." And they come home and they're watching Mr. Rogers, and he goes, "How does it feel to have touched, to so many people?" And Mr. Rogers just says, I don't think about numbers. We're in a society where everybody's obsessed with numbers. He said, "If I just impacted one child, it's all been worth it."
Yep.
Rachel, thanks for being a guest. So cool. You're such a wonderful person. And, I had a post not long ago about being a parent. You're in the middle of the battle zone. Nature is forgiving and forgetful. You'll forget the hard stuff and you'll remember all the beautiful stuff. And just keep banging away. You'll get there. It'll all be over soon. It'll be a different, beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ken. And thanks so much for everybody listening or watching today. And please reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Yes. Check us out at standoutauthority.com. Love to hear from you. Love to hear maybe something you took away from today. Your story. Would absolutely love to have that conversation.
We had a couple of great comments, and I'll grab those for us so you can see them. Thanks again, everybody, for listening and supporting The Humanist. And great guests like Rachel just kind of inspires me. It's a reason we do the show, to hear these kind of stories and hopefully touch that one person. See you soon. Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join us on a journey where we unravel the intricacies of